A very good morning. EURUSD has retraced up higher back into daily supply. So are those short opportunities that we talked about yesterday now possible? We're going to find out. Let's dive straight in. Welcome, guys. Good morning. It's Fabio, and welcome to this daily market update where we discuss the major dollar pairs and, of course, gold. Now, starting off with EURUSD, we've seen that well-expected pullback from this area of daily demand back up into this daily area of supply. Now, this is nothing really that we didn't expect. Looking at the lower time frame and more specifically being the 1 hour, we can very clearly see that we got slowdown in towards this area of daily demand. And if I show you this on the 15-minute time frame, it becomes a little bit more clear. We get this descending price action. You break a low, you retrace. You break a low, you start retracing. So it really showed that the overall bearish momentum was extremely weak in towards downside. Like back in the days when I used to trade the 15, I would be buying somewhere over here on the change of character very aggressively because we have a 1 second and then a third low, which is often seen or can be seen as an overall reversal pattern. Now, yesterday I was looking at a potential for the downside continuation. You might be wondering why. Well, because obviously the overall daily fractals are still very, very bearish, and we still have fundamentals which are pro US dollar longs. So we saw push down, pull back, push down, pull back, push down, pull back, and I was looking to see can we get another push in towards downside. As often the first reaction to a demand zone is not really the valid one, and I was looking for maybe like another sweep on the lower time frame. However, going onto the 1 hour time frame, because that was a time frame that I was looking for this potential short, you can very clearly see that the market came to this X, which is for me the liquidity high. It grabbed the liquidity over there, but there was no real kind of like momentum back in towards the downside. No 1 hour change of character in towards the downside to look for shorts from that area of then created supply. Also, if you look at the 15-minute time frame, you can very clearly see that there was also no short opportunity. There was only simply a reaction to that liquidity high, but nothing of a change of character that could have provided us with a potential shorting opportunity. Therefore, no shorts at all, and I just sat that one out, waiting for the market to hit this area of 4 hour and daily supply. So we're currently inside an area of interest, which could provide us with potential shorting opportunities once again. So I'll be keeping my eyes open inside of this daily area of supply, which is just very simply said an imbalance candle or a buy before a sell down. Also, if we draw in the fib retracement tool, you can see that we're pretty much resting at that 0.5 fib. And for me, this is an area of interest where I'm happy to start looking for shorts very, very soon. Now, looking here at the 1 hour time frame, you can very clearly see that the overall market is ranging. Preferably for myself, the ideal setup would be taking out these two highs over here, using this as liquidity, and then getting the 1 hour change of characters, getting in on maybe like a double fractal break, and then getting in on that supply that is then created for another short opportunity in towards the downside. So that is kind of like the ideal scenario that I have in my head here for EURUSD. Looking at the 4 hour time frame, pretty much the same. If I would have to wait, however, for the 4 hour confirmation, you would need to wait for this current fractal low to break. That's why I'm like preferably wanting to see maybe like a weak candle close today. This would be perfect. And then the next candle pushes up again, because then this would become the 4 hour fractal low if this high doesn't break this high over here. So let's see if something like that happens. Then this becomes the 4 hour fractal low. And then you could also get into 4 hour shorts after the 4 hour market structure break in terms of fractal structure. So that's that. Yeah, pretty much that. Looking here at the weekly, don't forget, however, that the weekly time frame is inside of what? Inside of this imbalance candle over here, which is currently acting as an area of demand. So shorts obviously getting riskier by the day. Do keep that in mind. But for now, as long as the daily fractal remains bearish, shorts are still of interest for myself. And the reason that I'm still interested in those EURUSD shorts is because the dollar is still looking bullish, guys. As we can see here, the dollar index on the daily time frame is still in daily fractal bullish structure. We can very clearly see that we get the push up, pull back, push up, pull back, push up. As long as the current fractal low is respected, we should continue pushing up higher. We're currently retraced into this sell for the buy over here, this imbalance, and this could push the market up higher. Also drawing in our fib retracement tool, you can see that we're nearing the 0.5 fib, which is also naturally a good area to look for potential longs. Now, the only thing I do not want to make you guys forget is, okay, obviously we've swept the lows here of the overall previous accumulation range in the year that President Trump became president. Then here on his presidency, we saw the fake out and then the distribution in towards the downside. Now, the exact same thing happened in Trump's previous presidency, where we saw a fake out on the lows over here and we saw a nice retracement up higher. However, we did eventually start to sell off again on the dollar. So do keep that in mind that at the time there was around a push of, what was it? Let me get the line correct. Around 4.7%. And if we now look at this current impulse from the low, it is around 4.1%. So we're getting around that 4% retracement. So do not forget that the retracement might be over, and we could see one more sell-off in towards the downside with the momentum. But for now, as long as the daily fractal remains bullish, meaning that as long as this current FL is respected, I will be looking for that further dollar upside. However, I will also be looking at the lower time frame to see, can we get any kind of like showcase, or how do you say it, like any sign or tell sign that we're ready to start pushing up again. There's no liquidity in the push up, so we could take out these lows still and then look for that reversal up higher once we then see the 1 hour change of character or the 4 hour change of character. So there is still some potential for some further downside on the dollar index to maybe fill up this gap and take out these lows. Keep that in mind when trading the dollar. Now going into AUDUSD, we can see that AU pushed up higher, pretty much exactly in line with the overall expectation that we had in yesterday's daily market outlook. Remember, you can still see the lines, the overall fractal low and the overall fractal high are being or have been respected. Current fractal low, current fractal high. This is kind of like our liquidity target. So as long as this low was respected, we were still interested in longs. Going into the 4 hour, you can see, however, the 4 hour fractal high was really, really high. And we are now looking, sorry for that, we're now looking for the overall continuation further in towards the upside. So what I'm now looking for is for the market just to simply continue pushing up higher. I'll be looking for more longs here on AUDUSD. Going into the 1 hour time frame, kind of like the perfect entry that you could have potentially taken was here at the 1 hour fractal break. Then you get the accumulation and then you get the breakout. So kind of like how I trade these setups, especially on like AUD, NZD or dollar yen pairs, or like yen pairs in general, is that you can trade kind of like the high break of the overall accumulation range. And that kind of like happened over here. So that was a good example of how you could have traded it based on the 4 hour, kind of hard to get in, but overall you can see that the daily fractal structure is still being respected. And for myself, AUDUSD, the next target is this liquidity high over here where I have the X dotted line. Now going into GBPUSD, we can see that GU pushed up higher once again, in line with the dollar retracement. Now the dollar here, or the pound dollar, has come up again and broken the 4 hour fractal high, which is not ideal. But do remember, we have a lot of descending highs here, which still have the opportunity or the possibility of taking those out. Overall, GU is a bit messy, but what I'm looking at here is still for the downside, as long as the current fractal high is being respected. So we'll be looking for further shorts in towards the downside once we see some bearish momentum come into this market. Again, no liquidity in the overall push down. That's why we're now liquidating these highs. So now what you want to see is some form of manipulation, maybe kind of like one more high sweep and then like a strong sell-off, retracement, and then continuation, or otherwise the market will just continue up higher with the overall order flow, as it still has the potential to take out these descending highs. Going into NZDUSD, and then we'll also look at USD Swiss, USD Yen, and gold. NZDUSD, I was looking for a short from this buy before the sell candle here. However, going into the 1 hour time frame, again, you can see no bearish confirmation at all. At some point in time, we came above these two equal highs, and that was what we were looking at yesterday. Then what you want to see is like a bearish reaction. So you want to see manipulation up, and then you want to see the sell-off, and then you want to get into a short on the freshly created supply zone. However, there was no bearish confirmation at all after taking out this high, and there was also no bearish confirmation at all coming into this supply zone over here. You can see one single bearish candle, but that is not bearish confirmation. So therefore, again, no sets up here on NZDUSD, perfectly fine, stayed out of it. Overall, bearish structure is still intact, and there is still potential for this thing to sell off down lower. However, it is not really a pair that I'm very keen on trading at the moment due to its messy price action. So I'll personally just be staying out of this. Like, we had an area of supply over here, but it's not fresh as it's already been tapped into over here. We had an area of supply over here. Obviously, that had a reaction on the 1 hour time frame, but nothing too significant, just one single bearish candle. So there's no real bearish momentum on this thing, and therefore I'll just be staying out of it and more focusing on those AUDUSD longs and then hedging the AUDUSD longs with, for example, EURUSD and GBPUSD shorts, as long as the daily fractal remains intact on those pairs. Now, going into USDCHF, still in long positions. If we do retrace in towards this area of accumulation, you can still look for longs on this, in my opinion, as simple as that. Then we have USDJPY, also still in long positions and looking for the overall upside continuation. Obviously, after such a massive rally, it's logic that we're seeing a retracement. So I'll just be looking for further upside continuation once the 4 hour, for example, retraces in towards here, or if we start seeing a bullish order flow be created on the 1 hour again, where we get something like, let's say, a double fractal breakup. So a breakdown, then break up, and then I'll start looking for longs and get in on the demand chain. But as we can see, there's nothing really that the market is reacting to here. So preferably you would want to see a tap into the supply or take out these two equal lows and then look for the reversal up higher once again. For the rest, no real setups on this thing at the moment. And then we have, of course, gold. Gold itself has been consolidating. It did react beautifully to the overall 4-hour order flow, as we mentioned. So if you did get into a short, you could have been up quite some pips. But overall, what we're looking for still is that further downside push. We have 3 beautiful equal lows. So I'm only interested in gold shorts for now and looking for those lows to be taken out. Looking here at the 1-hour time frame, makes sense. Ascending correction. Supply is in control. Also, if you look at the 4-hour time frame, you can very clearly see that supply is in control here with the buy before the sell, buy before the sell, now again buy before the sell, pushing the market down lower, and now just looking for us to take out these lows, and 31.87 is my next target for gold. So that's it for today, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Tomorrow we have a big day with a lot of news coming up, so yeah, kind of like a calm day in the market still is what I expect until tomorrow, where we have PPI and Powell speaking as well, who is the Fed or the chair of the Federal Reserve in the United States. So yeah, that's it for today. Thanks so much for tuning in, and see you guys soon.